There is a land shaped by water. More than 700 rivers flow through it. The monsoon gives it life. The monsoon takes it away. And yet, generation after generation, the people of this delta refuse to leave. This is Bangladesh, a nation whose very name means the land of the Bengali people. 50 years ago, Henry Kissinger called it a basket case. A country too poor, too crowded, too doomed to survive. Today, Bangladesh dresses the world. Its garment factories supply your clothes. Its farmers grow 3 rice crops a year. Its young students recently toppled a 15-year government in weeks. How did that happen? How did a land born in genocide, a land dismissed before it could even speak, rise like this? The answer is not in economics alone. It is in blood. It is in language. It is in a single day, February 21st, 1952. The day students died for their mother tongue. To understand Bangladesh, you must first understand its geography, not as a backdrop, but as a character. The Bengal Delta is the largest river delta in the world. For millions of years, the Ganges, the Brahmaputra, and the Meghna carried silt down from the Himalayas. Layer after layer of rich, fertile earth. So fertile that farmers here can harvest rice 3 times a year. A feat few nations on earth can match. But the same rivers that give life also bring destruction. Every year, the monsoon floods a quarter of the country. In bad years, 3/4 disappear underwater. The Bengali people learn to live with this paradox. Build on raised platforms, keep a boat by the door, and rebuild after every storm. This is not a land of easy victories. It is a land of stubborn survival. Long before Bangladesh was a name on a map, this delta was home to kingdoms. Wanga, Pundra, Samatata, Harikela. The Mahabharata mentions them. Greek geographer Ptolemy wrote of the Gangaridae, famous for war elephants. Then came the Mauryans. Emperor Ashoka spread Buddhism through these wetlands. And then, the Golden Age, the Pala dynasty. The Palas were champions of Buddhism. They built Somapura Mahavihara at Paharpur, the largest Buddhist monastery in the subcontinent. Over 2,000 terracotta plaques still decorate its walls. Scholars from Tibet, China, Java, Sumatra, all came to study here. Vikramashila Monastery was one of the great learning centers of the ancient world. Tibetan Buddhism still carries the echoes of those Bengali teachers. But nothing lasts forever. In the early 13th century, a Turkic commander named Bakhtiyar Khilji swept into Bengal. He burned the monasteries. He burned the libraries. Centuries of scholarship, gone in smoke. Monks fled to Nepal and Tibet, carrying what texts they could save. Buddhism largely disappeared from the land it had once illuminated. Here's something surprising. Islam did not spread in Bengal primarily by the sword. It was carried by Sufi mystics, wandering poets and saints. They cleared forests. They built communities. They offered an escape from the rigid caste hierarchies of Hinduism. A fisherman or a weaver could stand before God as an equal. One of the greatest was Shah Jalal of Sylhet. He arrived with a handful of disciples. Today, he is venerated as the patron saint of Sylhet, his shrine visited by millions. Then came the Bengal Sultanate. The sultans were Muslim, ruling over a mostly Hindu population. And the best of them, like Alauddin Hussain Shah, were remarkably tolerant. He commissioned translations of the Sanskrit epics into Bengali. For the first time, ordinary people could hear the Mahabharata and Ramayana in their own tongue. This was not conquest. This was synthesis. Then came the Mughals. In 1612, Islam Khan moved the capital to Dhaka. He renamed it Jahangirnagar, City of Jahangir. And Dhaka began to weave magic. Dhaka muslin. Have you heard of it? It was called woven air and running water. A full sari could be folded to fit inside a matchbox. A length of it could be pulled through a finger ring. It grew only along the banks of the Meghna. A specific cotton called puti karpas. Mughal empresses wore it. European merchants paid fortunes for it. But that world was about to be destroyed, not by nature, but by empire. On June 23, 1757, a small battle took place at a village called Plassey. The Nawab of Bengal, Siraj-ud-Dowla, faced the British East India Company. But the Nawab's own commander, Mir Jafar, had secretly agreed to betray him. The battle was over in hours. Siraj fled. He was captured and killed. Bengal fell, and with it, the richest province of the subcontinent. Within 8 years, the company took the Diwani, the right to collect taxes, and they collected with ruthless efficiency. The drain of wealth from Bengal to Britain over 2 centuries, if measured in today's dollars, would be tens of trillions. Then came 1770, a famine, but not a natural one. The company did not lower its tax demands even as crops failed. 1/3 of Bengal's population died. 10 million people. Warren Hastings, the first Governor-General, admitted, "The famine reduced the population by 1/3, while our revenue remained unchanged." This pattern callousness, dressed as policy, would return, again and again. The 19th century brought an odd paradox. Even as exploitation continued, Bengal experienced a renaissance. Ram Mohan Roy challenged sati and child marriage. And then Rabindreanath Tagore. Tagore wrote thousands of poems, hundreds of short stories, over 2,000 songs. He became the first Asian to win a Nobel Prize in literature. And here is a fact no other nation can claim. Tagore composed the national anthems of 2 different countries, India's Jana Gana Mana and Bangladesh's Amar Sonar Bangla. One man, 2 nations. But even as culture flowered, disaster was gathering. World War II. Japanese forces were advancing toward India's eastern borders. The British adopted a denial policy. Destroy boats, rice stocks, anything that could help an invader. More than 60,000 boats were burned in coastal Bengal. That is how food moved through the delta. Destroy the boats, and you destroy the ability to eat. Crops failed. And Winston Churchill, the great wartime leader, refused to send grain. Madhusri Mukherjee's research, Churchill's Secret War, documented it clearly. The British War Cabinet prioritized British food security over Bengali lives. 2 to 3 million people died of starvation, maybe more. The trauma never healed. That famine is still remembered, and it disproportionately killed people in the eastern districts, the very districts that would become East Pakistan and then Bangladesh. In 1947, the British left India. They carved 2 new nations out of the subcontinent, India and Pakistan. Pakistan was supposed to be a homeland for Muslims. But here is the absurdity that no one talks about enough. Pakistan came in 2 wings, separated by more than 1,600 kilometers of Indian territory. West Pakistan, Punjab, Sindh, Baluchistan, the northwest frontier. East Pakistan, the eastern half of Bengal, today's Bangladesh. On paper, East Pakistan had a slightly larger population, 54% of the whole country. But power, money, and the army, almost all of it, stayed in the West. In 1949 to 50, West Pakistan's per capita income was 338 rupees. East Pakistan, 287 rupees, a gap of 51 rupees. By 1969 to 70, West Pakistan, 537 rupees, East Pakistan, 331 rupees. The gap had tripled. East Pakistanis grew jute, the golden fiber, and their export earnings built roads in Islamabad. Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, the man who would become Bangladesh's father, once said bitterly, "I can smell the fragrance of Islamabad's roads." But the breaking point was not economics, it was language. On March 21, 1948, Muhammad Ali Jinnah, the founder of Pakistan, came to Dhaka. He declared, "The state language of Pakistan is going to be Urdu and no other language." 56% of Pakistanis spoke Bengali, not Urdu, Bengali. Students protested, and on February 21, 1952, police opened fire at Dhaka University. 5 students died that day: Abul Barkat, Rafiquddin Ahmed, Abul Jabbar, Shafiur Rahman, Abdus Salam. They died for their mother tongue. The Shaheed Minar, the Martyrs' Monument, still stands in Dhaka. Every year, millions walk barefoot to honor them. In 1999, UNESCO declared February 21st International Mother Language Day. A local tragedy became a universal truth. A people's language is their soul.
The discrimination never stopped. East Pakistan had most of the population, but only 5% of the military's officer corps. Civil service jobs? Same story. Then came General Ayub Khan, a Punjabi military man who called his decade in power the Golden Decade. It was golden for West Pakistan. For the East, it was a slow starvation of opportunity. When Ayub fell in 1969, General Yahya Khan took over. And Yahya, by all accounts, was not a serious man. The BBC's Owen Bennett-Jones recounts, "The Shah of Iran was visiting. Time came for him to leave. No one could find Yahya. He was in his bedroom with the legendary Pakistani singer, Noor Jahan. She called him Sarkar. He called her Noori. But the joke turned to horror. On the night of December 3, 1971, when Pakistan launched airstrikes on India, Yahya was reportedly drunk. And he asked Noor Jahan on the phone from Japan to sing him a song, while fighter jets roared overhead, while a genocide unfolded below. Because before the war with India, there was Operation Searchlight. March 25, 1971. The Pakistani military attacked Dhaka University at night. Students were dragged from dormitories, shot. Hundreds in one night. Thousands in the first week. Sheikh Mujibur Rahman was arrested and flown to West Pakistan. But before they took him, he sent out a message. From today, Bangladesh is independent. A young Bengali military officer named Ziaur Rahman broadcasted from Chittagong radio, and the world barely noticed. Until a Pakistani journalist, Anthony Mascarenhas, fled to London and wrote an article called Genocide in the Sunday Times. Then the world knew. 10 million refugees poured into India. Women were raped in the hundreds of thousands. An estimated 3 million people killed. India's Prime Minister Indira Gandhi wanted to strike immediately. But her army chief Sam Manekshaw said no. "Do you want to win the war?" he asked. "If yes, give me time." December. Manekshaw knew the monsoon would turn the delta into a swamp. He knew the Himalayan passes were open for China to intervene. He waited. He prepared. And on December 3rd, 1971, Pakistan struck first. Operation Chengiz Khan. Pakistani aircraft hit 11 Indian airfields, but they destroyed almost nothing. And by striking first, Pakistan handed India the moral high ground. Indira Gandhi went on the radio. Some hours ago, soon after 5:30 p.m., Pakistan launched a full-scale war against us. The war lasted 13 days. On the Western Front, a tiny Indian force of 120 men at Longewala held off 2,000 Pakistani soldiers and 45 tanks simply by shooting so much that the enemy thought they faced a much larger force. When morning came, Indian warplanes destroyed the Pakistani tanks. On the Eastern Front, Indian helicopters airlifted 4,000 soldiers across the Meghna River, bypassing Pakistani defenses entirely. Paratroopers dropped behind enemy lines. Jute dummies were dropped too, looking like soldiers from the air. Pakistani commanders, terrified, froze. On December 16, 1971, in Dhaka, General Niazi of Pakistan sat across from India's General Jagjit Singh Arora. He had no pen. An Indian soldier lent him one. He unpinned his medals. He wept. 93,000 Pakistani soldiers surrendered. The largest military capitulation since World War II. Bangladesh was born. Mujib returned home in January 1972. Millions lined the streets. But independence did not bring stability. A famine in 1974, hundreds of thousands died. Then, on August 15, 1975, Mujib and most of his family were assassinated in his own home. Only his daughters, Sheikh Hasina and Sheikh Rehana, survived because they were abroad. What followed was years of military rule, coups and counter-coups. General Ziaur Rahman, the same officer who broadcast the Declaration of Independence, eventually became president. He was assassinated in 1981. Then General Arshad took over. He ruled for 8 years, declared Islam the state religion in 1988, and was finally overthrown by a mass uprising in 1990. Then came democracy. Then came two women, Khalida Zia and Sheikh Hasina, who would dominate Bangladeshi politics for 3 decades. And under Hasina's long rule, Bangladesh transformed. From basket case to the world's second largest garment exporter. From famine to food surplus. The third largest rice producer on earth. From poverty to nearly double Pakistan's per capita income. The Bangladeshi taka, worthless in 1971, now buys 2.30 Pakistani rupees. But power corrupts. In 2024, students protested against a quota system that reserved 30% of government jobs for descendants of freedom fighters. Only 40% of jobs were open to merit for millions of young people. The protests grew. Security forces killed students, and within weeks, the streets of Dhaka exploded. Statues of Mujib were pulled down. On August 5th, 2024, Sheikh Hasina fled the country. A caretaker government led by Nobel laureate Muhammad Yunus took charge. Bangladesh again stood at a crossroads. What happens next is not yet written.
But if the past 2,500 years teaches anything, it is this. The people of this delta have never stayed defeated. They lost their Buddhist monasteries. They lost their muslin weavers. They lost 3 million lives in 1971. And still, every morning, millions of Bangladeshis rise before dawn, walk through flooded roads, and build again. February 21st is now a global day for mother languages. But in Bangladesh, it is something more. It is a promise. They died for words. And from those words, a nation rose. This is Bangladesh. Not a basket case, not a tragedy. A story of language, blood, and stubborn, impossible, glorious rebirth.